Hello, welcome back. Last time we have generated the database architecture for our pets inventory system. Now, today we will add supplier repository and supplier crudes because to buy the pets we need now a supplier. So we need to make a supplier repository so we can talk to the supplier tables, this one, so we can perform operation in the supplier table. Later, after updating the supplier table, after performing CRUD of the supplier table, we need to update the stock. So to update the stock, we also need to talk to the stock table. So we will make stock repository. Later, our pet servers need to communicate to the stock repository to increase the stock, and so we need to perform insert or update action in stock table. So we need stock repository for this. So this repository pattern is quite handy. So let's start with supplier code. So first we all know we need to make interface for supplier. So let's add new class interface I supplier repository. Alright, I suppliers I supplier repository. Alright, let's make this one. Now as in pets we are implementing I repository, we are doing the same thing in supplier repository also, but the model is different. Instead of pets we will have supplier. Alright, now it will be very easy for us to make repository because all the functions are in our generic repository, right? So let's make repository for supplier. Add new class supplier repository. That's yes. Now, like in a pets repository, we will be doing the same thing because the implementation part remain same everywhere. So let's in supplier repository we will implement the same repository, but the model will be different because we for this time we are passing supplier model instead of a pets model, right? So here we will implement supplier repository. Alright, so the constructor will be also the supplier. So we also pass appdb context to the base, right? Appdb context option to the base repository, that is repository. Alright, now we will make supplier service. Alright, let's make the supplier service. Add new class services services, supplier services, right? supplier supplier services. That's yes. So as in the pet service we make interface for the pet service, we will repeat same for the supplier service, right? So let's make a supplier service. Supplier service, right? Alright, I will do the tab. Okay. Alright, it will asking us a supplier view model. So let's make the view model. Add new class supplier view model. Alright, In the supplier view model, we will put the same as of supplier. So let's go to the supplier view model and the paste this one. So in paid service now, okay, in supplier service now we get the supplier view model. Alright, now let's implement I supplier service. Alright, just click on the bulb icon and alright, let's see this one. I think I can do tab right here. So I can use iSupplier using interface, a mapper. I don't have auto mapper, so I am removing this one. Alright, I am injecting supplier repository in my supplier services. So instead of I have maintained the repository, but now we are getting all the repository from our unit of work, right? So I think I need to undo this one all. Let's set up the unit of work for our supplier repository. Alright, like in like as a pets repository, I will do same thing for the supplier repository. I supplier repository. So it will be the suppliers repository. Alright, now you can keep the name anything here. So let's go to the unit of work. Also the same thing, instead of pets, alright, I also add supplier repo, also add a public supplier repository. Alright, now let's get the iUnit of implement interfaces here, right? So implement the interface. I get all the method. Now I can implement the add method like as of pets. Alright, so I can inject unit of work there. So unit of work, so I can generate the constructor of the supplier service, generate constructor. Alright, now I can inject unit of work here so that I can use a supplier repository. Alright, like this. Now I can use the supplier repository, right? Like as in pet service, I can get the same code here in supplier service. For adding, let's see here, I am getting now the supplier, but I haven't implemented the mapper function for the supplier service. So let's implement the mapper function for supplier service. Let's copy our pet service. Now generate for supplier service. Generate the mapper for supplier, right? Let's make it supplier, and this one also the supplier. Alright, make this one supplier view model, and this one a supplier, right? Instead of paid, I write supplier. Okay, if supplier is null, return the null. Otherwise, I will return the supplier view model and add the tab. Alright. Our supplier is a simple function with name supplier. Let's see the supplier beam model first with ID, name, and contact info. Right. So I will add the same thing in mapper. ID, name, and contact info. Right. Contact info is just a contact number. Right. The same thing. Alright, I have so now we can do same thing here. Alright, same thing here. Instead of supplier beam model, bits beam model, we can say supplier beam model. Supplier, so it should be a supplier everything. Now let's put the supplier, right? ID, name, and contact info. Right, it will return the supplier, right? Just rename our function. Now also here we can add supplier beam model. This will be the supplier. Alright, so this will be the list of supplier beam model. Alright, make this one a supplier beam model. Alright, let's say this one suppliers, and we will get the list of suppliers. Alright, if we so supplier and the supplier. Alright, now we have maintained the mapper for our supplier. So now we are good to go. So if you want to maintain the mapper like this further in our doing programming journey, we can do like this. We can make a separate folder for the mapper and we can map our models and the view models. Alright, now let's go to the supplier service. Now you see here the problem with mapper has been gone. So we will get suppliers. We will get the supplier here and unit of work dot supplier repository dot insert the supplier, right? So we are returning the supplier. Alright, okay, let's see. Now we need to add async function here as it is the async operation. Right, now alright, here's a pp supplier in our mapper class. Let's see our mapper class if it is a static method or not. Yes, it is a static method and it is returning the supplier beam model. Everything seems fine, and let's see our supplier repository. Okay, supplier repository also suppliers. Let's see the supplier service. So supplier may be null here. Well, let's rename this one like something else. Maybe the name is collapse var result. Okay, now it is the converted suppliers. So to the supplier, and we are sending the supplier to insert and save the result and return back the same supplier. Alright, so in this way we can add supplier using supplier service. So for deleting the supplier, and all these methods are implemented as like in pets. Alright, so delete, I will do the same thing here. So let's delete is actually updating the supplier. So we are getting supplier repository by id. Alright, let's get result and copy result dot is deleted. Alright, let's make this method async. Now can we delete the supplier? No, I don't think if we need this. We have not any delete functionality in our supplier. So let's add the public bool is deleted. Alright, so in my view model also I am adding is deleted, public bool is deleted. So mapper also we need to add is deleted. So to delete the supplier, to sub delete the supplier, we need to add delete function, give delete functionality also. So I have added in all this here. So let's go to the supplier service. Now you can do the delete operation. Alright, and we can do a get supplier async. To get all the supplier async, let's do bar result. Alright, apply the getl and return mapper dot convert result dot to list. Right, okay, we can do await here. Await, it will be the async operation, and we can return the to list here. Alright, now we can get supplier by id. Alright, so let's get the result and get by id. Right, so the same thing here, async operation, and do await here. Need to await the operation. So I think let's do this one, and alright, otherwise return null. Alright, so for updating the supplier, we can do so async operation. Alright, so we need to convert the supplier first. Alright, so we get the actually get the supplier. Now we are updating the supplier and saving changes and returning back the result. Alright, so this is our supplier services. Now we need to make supplier controller. Like a pet controller, we will make a supplier controller. Alright, let's make the supplier. Let's see, yes. So the same thing here, controller base. Alright, as like of a pets controller, I am bringing all the function of this pets controller, right? So it can be utilized in our supplier controller. So let's bring this one all. Alright. Okay. Let's inject the supplier service here. So make the constructor, and I can inject supplier private read only. I think the supplier service I suppliers I suppliers supplier service. So this one will be the supplier service, right? Supplier service. Alright. Okay, inject it here like this. Supplier service and supplier service. So supplier service. Alright. So instead of get all pairs, we can say get all suppliers. Get all suppliers. So get all suppliers. Supplier service dot. I think this function is the same. Get all supplier async, right? Okay. This one is fine. Instead of pairs, I can say supplier by ID. So supplier by ID here. Instead of paid service, I will get the object of supplier service and get supplier ID by ID. And we have the method called get supplier by ID async inside our supplier service, right? So we need to create the supplier. Create supplier. Okay, let's do the same thing. Create supplier. Instead of its view model, we will get the supplier view model, I think. Supplier view model. Alright, so let's say this one the supplier. The repository pattern will make our life more easier, right? So we are just performing the same thing, right? So here we are performing the same thing, which will be very helpful while developing application, right? Update the supplier. Alright, we do not need to think too much. So I'm copying the view model here. Everything what I am just repeating with supplier, right? So the supplier service here, that update supplier async. We have the method name update supplier async. Alright, so pass the same supplier here. Alright, okay. Now we need to delete the supplier. Delete supplier. Just delete supplier. Supplier service. That delete supplier async. Method delete supplier async, right? Now we have a controller also. Now you all remember, while I was teaching the generic repository, we need to register our repository in service collection, right? Whatever the repository we make, we are just registering it in service collection. So I have made the separate folder for the service collection, right? So let's inject our supplier service here as well as our supplier repository. Alright, now we are good to go. Now you remember, right? I have added the is deleted functionality in our model, but in our database there is not any is deleted column or anything. So we need to migrate our is deleted column in the database. So go to the package manager console. Alright, now this time add dash migration update supplier, right? We have updated the supplier, so I have keep the name update supplier. Now look, it has added is deleted column in my supplier table. So this is the migration generated for me. Let's go to the migration. You can see another migration here, updated supplier. Now I need to update the database. Let's update the database. Now the database operation is successfully updated. Let's check in our supplier table. Let's just refresh it. Go to the column. Now you can see is deleted column here as well in database. Okay. Now let's check our supplier if it is working or not. Let's Congratulations, you have get all these suppliers functionality API here. Let's check our get a supplier. We don't have any supplier here, so I'm getting no pets found. Let's update it to supplier later. Okay, we don't have any supplier, just create the supplier. Let's try it out. ID, I don't think if I need ID. Name SUPP supplier 1. Contact name information may be plus 977 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Alright, I'll delete there. Let's say pulse and create the supplier. Let's see, now our supplier is created. Okay, let's try to get the supplier once again. Now we can get the supplier as well as get supplier by ID. Let's enter 1. Now we can also get supplier by ID. Alright, now we need to update the supplier. Just try it out. We are updating the supplier of ID 1 to SUPP supplier updated 1. Okay, deleted to 2 and just send the string in contact info. Let's see our supplier is updated. Alright, let's again get the supplier, so we can check. Now here we get the updated supplier. Alright, now let's move to our core base. Let's check the database if there is suppliers added or not. Now you can see one record. Okay, alright, now also we want to check. Alright, now in next video we will add the same stock, like stock repository as supplier repository. We will make stock repository, because as in our class list you can see, we actually when we are adding the paid, we are adding the we are adding the paid, we need to update the stock table, right? As the paid increase, we need to add the stock table, because we need to increase the quantity in the stock table. Alright, so in our next video we will be doing this stock repository operation. So thank you for now.